Let the hate flow through you, Antonio. Ha ha ha.
Welcome to Rotten Apples Film Review. I'm your host, John Galligan. Today we're going to discuss Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. I got some props around me from, I'm a big fan from my childhood. And we're going to talk about The Rise of Skywalker and how J.J. Abrams pretty much took a trilogy and really the culmination of 9 films, so 2 other trilogies, and concluded them in one film. It's really amazing. I recommend the film to people to see it. I have some extensive critique of it, but in order for me to get into that, I'd have to talk about The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens. Those are the 2 films that come prior. They're within the Disney trilogy, and I would say that JJ had his work cut out for him. So if I'm going to give a critique of Rise of Skywalker, I'm definitely going to have to give a critique of, like I said, The Last Jedi. That film, what Ryan Johnson did, he was also ambitious, but in a different way. I think he got kind of carried away with his own personal ambitions as a director, and I think he took that into what he did with The Last Jedi and what he wanted to do. And instead of like telling the story for the fans, he kind of told the story for his own pursuits. And I think that's where the story kind of got wonky. If I was to give the critique of The Last Jedi, I would definitely give it a low score, whereas I give Rise of Skywalker a much higher score. Daisy Ridley, her performance is fantastic. Um, she really lays it all on the line. You get to see a lot of emotion from her. And right off the bat, that's the difference between Rise of Skywalker and Last Jedi, the dialogue, the performances. That's really where you can see JJ honed his skill, and really where it showcases his ability as a director to get the right take, to get the right performances, and he really does. Daisy is as good as she is in any of the films. I do think The Force Awakens is a good film. It's a little more of a copy of the original trilogy. Um, it's kind of like it encompasses a lot of A New Hope, the original Star Wars. It has like elements of that with the Star Killer base and stuff like that. And a lot of fans were upset about that. They felt like it was unoriginal. So I guess Ryan Johnson took that and was like, well, if you don't like something that kind of follows the that's traced, you want something way out of the box, well, here you go. And he gave us The Last Jedi, which was definitely out there, and it really broke a lot of the Star Wars rules and how Star Wars has been already established. Stuff about Luke Skywalker and his character, and even Mark Hamill is famously, he said, he called him Jake Skywalker because he wasn't happy with the direction of Luke. um, JJ was able to take Luke, and he made Luke what we wanted Luke to be. Even though Luke was a Force ghost in The Rise of Skywalker, he did things that were Jedi like. Like, for instance, he caught the lightsaber and he said that's no way to treat the weapon of a Jedi. And he took the his ship. He mimicked Yoda and was able to use the Force and lift his X-wing out of the water. And he showed us what a Jedi, what we wanted him to be, even though, like I said, he was a Force ghost. JJ was able to really give us fans some closure. He was able to explain things that needed to be explained. JJ also said something like Mark, and this is a lot of outside the lines of Rise of Skywalker. It's not so much in the film, but it's more outside of the script where, I'm also adding that to the critique because it's part of it. I feel like that encompasses a lot, like what's been going on with John Boyega. He's kind of made some comments about like kissing Ray. It was a little controversial. He said stuff about laying pipe, which was a little weird of a quote to say. Yeah, I'm paraphrasing. I don't know the exact quote, but I do know that it was weird. But outside the lines kind of applies to the film itself because it's a lot of what motivated these actors and directors to do what they did. So you have to take it into consideration. for instance, as I was alluding to what JJ said about, he said that you want to explain things. Star Wars fans don't want to be told that something means nothing. They want things explained, and I agree. I think Star Wars is really, it is a fan service saga at this point. It's not some film where a filmmaker is going to come in and really try to make his own established story. He needs to move the story along with the mind that fans are watching, and it is difficult because as a filmmaker you want to write from what you know, you want to write from your heart, but taking on Star Wars, it creates a situation where you have to do that, but also you have to take into consideration the fans, and that's a difficult task that JJ really shows he has the ability to do. As I said, he brought out terrific performances from Daisy and Oscar Isaac and John Boyega and Adam Driver. He really pulled out those performances. And then we got to see stuff. Spoiler alert: we got to see the old cast. I mean, Lando is back. Han Solo, which I'm surprised the hell out of me. I'm a deep Indiana Jones fan. I have my own Indiana Jones fan film, Indiana Jones and the Secret of the Queen's Giant. For those of you, it's going to be on YouTube soon. It's making its festival run, but that I'm a deep Indiana Jones fan. So seeing him in the film, I didn't know, and I read all the spoilers beforehand. I kind of like heard about a lot of what was going to happen. I heard Palpatine was back. I also heard that, spoiler alert, I heard that Rey was a Palpatine before, and people were saying that. I saw the image of Palpatine shooting Force lightning up into the sky before I saw the film. Because I'm that kind of fan, I gotta find out. And that's probably what kind of fan you are while you're watching me, person you have no idea who I am. But I am a filmmaker, and I do have a pretty extensive film knowledge. If you want, you can follow me on Must, the app where you can rank films and rate them. And I think I'm ranked in the around 30s or 40s in terms of how many films I've seen, out of the whole the app, which has a lot of people on it. And I hope you can follow me on there. You could also follow us on Instagram. We just launched our Instagram today. It's Rotten Apples Film Review at Instagram, so you could follow us there. Back to what I was saying about JJ being I am a filmmaker, so an aspiring filmmaker, and he's an established filmmaker. Let's not get that too. I see Antonio's laughing back there. I don't want to get that too. My ego. I don't know how big this room is. If I could hold it, if I'm gonna say I'm in the same level, I am not saying that. I want that known. Like I said, JJ was, as a filmmaker myself, watching JJ do what he did, it was impressive. I give the film, from JJ's ability to take a lot of the mess that was The Last Skywalker and correct it and establish what we already wanted. It's weird to say that. Establish what we wanted. Yeah, you have to give the fans what they want in this situation. It's Star Wars. It's something we've grown up watching, and even if you're a young fan, it's something that existed before you were alive, and I'm sure you've seen it as it growing up. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's everywhere. If you go to any store in America, I don't know, in the world, you're gonna see something Star Wars. I mean, I went to Home Depot and I saw a refrigerator, and it had a picture of Rey on it. It's everywhere. Star Wars is everywhere. So, that's, you have to take that into consideration, and JJ does, and he really concludes the whole saga in a very nice way. I would give the film, for that, I give it a 10 out of 10. But in terms of film, all-time film, I would say it's more like a 7.5 out of 10. But I don't want that to that's taken into consideration the all-time greats of cinema, and I would say it's about as it could have been better had JJ directed all three. That's another thing that's very difficult for JJ, is the pacing and the timing to pick up a story from someone else that was directing. And I'm not taking anything away from Rian Johnson either. I think he's a good director. I just don't think he's the right director for a Star Wars or a saga like Star Wars.
Do you think that the ratings it's getting is a reflection of the film itself, or because of essentially what JJ did to Ryan?
Yeah, that's great. That's a great question. I think the critics are rough on this film, whereas the audience isn't, and I think that's because the critics are taking it as what I said, 7.5 out of 10. I think they're taking it as basing it against all-time great films like they would the original Star Wars, which they're holding it to that standard, which I get, I understand, but I don't think they're the critics also scored The Last Jedi high. And I think they did that because The Last Jedi it takes chances and they like that. And it does it's definitely recommended that you take chances as a filmmaker and telling a story. I mean, who wants to see the same story recycled? Nobody. But within Star Wars, you do. It's really a weird thing, but you do want to see good win. You want to see a story where you can relate to it, which that's what Luke is. It's a family story. We all understand the trials and tribulations of parenthood. I mean, Luke is going against his father. His father is this powerful, established character in the galaxy, and Luke is just this little farm boy who has to argue with his uncle just to get out, and he's got to stay another season to help him. So as fans, we want the to relate to it. So it makes it so that you need it to be kind of follow that pattern. It's got to be that, and that's why fans love it, and critics they're pretty much bashing it. I also think a lot of the critics bash things because they might have other agendas. Maybe they're getting paid, and maybe there's reasons why. Maybe there's other studios that they lean towards that make films. Maybe they don't. I mean, there's a lot of corruption out there in this world, so I can't comment about why, because to me when I watch that film, it's a good film. Rise of Skywalker. It's a good film. It's there isn't. I mean, the acting alone. How can the critic not take into consideration the crank phone call between Poe and Hux in the beginning of Last Jedi? It's cringeworthy. That never happens in Rise of Skywalker. There is no moments where there's like cheesy, like ridiculous gaps in their acting or their dialogue where you know it's Daisy really puts it in, like you see it in her eyes when her and Kylo are battling, and when they feel spoiler alert, when they feel Leia die, you can see it, you can feel it, it's visceral, it's like it's there. Whereas in The Last Jedi, we don't get any of those moments. We don't get any of those moments where we feel connected to it because again it's out of the box, but it's also not making it so fans can connect. There's I mean, what is it in The Last Jedi? I challenge you and leave it a comment below if you feel that there's something I'm missing, but let me know what it is that I missed about the connection in The Last Jedi, because telling Ray you're no one, even if Kylo's lying, as the viewer, I'm watching this and I'm thinking, she's no one. I mean, I'm thinking maybe Kylo's lying, but she's still no one to me. In The Rise of Skywalker, JJ was like, no, she's not no one. She's actually the most someone. She's Palpatine's granddaughter, and Palpatine being the ultimate someone in this series and saga, it definitely turns what was happening in Last Jedi on its ear, because it's like it gives it JJ saying pretty much to the fan like, here's your fan service. I'm making Rey someone. Connect. He's saying that as a director. Connect with this character. How do you connect? You feel for her. You see that she is torn. She just realized that her lineage, her grandfather, is the ultimate evil in the galaxy. Just like when Luke realizes that his father is the ultimate evil in the galaxy. It's giving it that connectability, which we need as fans. And I think critics, they're looking at it like through a different kind of scope and a different lens, pun intended. They're thinking of it in a very an emotional way, I think. And I hope you guys can watch the film, and give it your own opinion on it without like everyone else's. I hope you take into consideration some of what we're saying. Thanks for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe below. This is Rotten Apples Film Review, and I'm your host, John Galligan. See you next time.